Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton has recorded a notable triumph in the Democratic Senate race in Illinois, setting her on course for an incredible achievement. This predicted victory has positioned Juliana Stratton for an incredible achievement, potentially making her the second Black woman elected to the United States Senate from Illinois. Furthermore, Juliana Stratton stands a chance of being one of 3 Black women in the Senate at the same time, an unprecedented moment in American politics. Decision Desk HQ projections have shown that Juliana Stratton has emerged victorious in a toughly contested Senate race, narrowly beating Representative Raja Krishnamoorthi, who had been considered the frontrunner until the final stages of the election. Representative Robin Kelly was also part of the Senate race, finishing third. This has marked a defining moment for Juliana Stratton and other contestants in the Senate race, particularly given that the race has garnered national attention not only for being toughly contested, but also for being historical. Having emerged victorious from the Senate race, Juliana Stratton is now set for the general election, scheduled for November. In this election, Juliana Stratton is expected to face Republican candidate Don Tracy, former chair of the Republican Party of Illinois. This election will determine whether Juliana Stratton achieves her incredible feat of being elected to the United States Senate. In her acceptance speech on Tuesday night, Stratton addressed her supporters with a message that was all about getting involved and sticking with it. Stratton also took the chance to thank her opponents, as well as emphasize the importance of having the right mindset as she shifts her attention to the general election that is coming up. Stratton explained that the outcome of the primary election was not just about the win, but also about the bigger idea that people are ready to step up and help shape democracy. Stratton went on to say that she had seen communities across Illinois come together, look out for each other, and stick with it in the face of challenges. In addition to this, Stratton also took the chance to reflect on the things that motivated her throughout her campaign. Stratton pointed out her work on improving maternal health outcomes, as well as her work on empowering young women and girls to get involved in politics, as the key things that motivated her throughout her campaign. Stratton went on to say that these are the very things that have always been at the heart of her work as well as her politics. Simultaneously, Stratton also spoke from a very personal place, drawing on her family's history. She shared the story of her father, who grew up in rural Pennsylvania, and as a teenager was not permitted to visit the U.S. Capitol because of racial discrimination. Stratton's experience, she said, highlights the importance of her candidacy because it occurred during her father's lifetime. She emphasized the contrast between her father's experience and what she, Stratton, is able to do today. Run for an opportunity to hold a position inside the U.S. Capitol that her father was not permitted to visit. Stratton's candidacy, she emphasized, is not just about her as an individual, but also represents the opportunities that exist for representation beyond her as an individual. Stratton pointed out that the state of Illinois is in an interesting position in this election cycle, as it's the only state that has the opportunity to send a Black woman to the U.S. Senate. Stratton spoke proudly of what she termed as the strong path she had toward that opportunity. The historical context in which this candidacy is taking place is significant. To date, only 5 Black women have ever been members of the United States Senate. They include Kamala Harris of California, who went on to become vice president. In 2024, Lisa Blunt Rochester of Delaware and Angela Also Brooks of Maryland were elected. This is the first time that 2 Black women have ever served in the Senate at the same time. If Stratton is elected, she will be the 3rd Black woman ever in the Senate, continuing a tradition of carving out a new milestone in Senate representation. Illinois has played an important part in this tradition. Illinois was the first state in the United States to send a Black woman, Carol Moseley Braun, to the Senate in 1992. Stratton has been endorsed by Moseley Braun and Senator Tammy Duckworth, who took office in 2016 and is the only other woman ever elected from Illinois to the Senate. The Illinois Democratic primary election garnered additional interest due to a particular reason. This was the only Senate election this year that pitted 2 Black women with elected offices against each other. This therefore brought an additional dimension of interest to the election, emphasizing the diversity of political leadership and the evolution of the character of electoral contests. Stratton also cited some of the most powerful individuals in the political history of Illinois as her sources of inspiration. Carol Moseley Braun and the former President of the United States, Barack Obama, though different from each other, were 2 of the most powerful individuals in the history of Illinois politics, with the state boasting of the best Black leadership in the country. While outlining her leadership philosophy, Stratton emphasized the significance of inclusion and shared opportunities. Reaching the pinnacle of leadership is just the beginning of the task, as Stratton noted that it is equally important to open doors for others as well. Her leadership philosophy is focused on lifting many voices, as well as creating opportunities that do not exist. With the general election looming on the horizon, Stratton's win in the primary marks the beginning of a new chapter in the race. The outcome promises to be a close and competitive race come November, with Illinois at the center of the action as the race plays out.
This change coincides with other factors that define the final stretch of the primary race, such as the money trail to the campaigns, the endorsement battle, and the public statements of political figures, which define the competitive race before the final day. With the final stretch and the dynamics of the campaigns now in full view, Part 2 of the analysis will look at the race in more depth by focusing on the events that define the race to the finish line.